Hello, my name is William and welcome to Tactics, Blunders and Tactical Blunders that were seen in the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. In this video I have picked a few of my favorite ones. To find a list of them, see the description below and the pinned comment. Let's begin. This game is between you and Mamedyarov. White is clearly winning in this position, but how to finish it off? Black plays Queen f5, giving White the chance to checkmate very soon. You plays Queen e8 check. You can only block this with Queen g6. Now for White's next move, to attack the Queen and the King at the same time. And it is because of this move, Black resigned. The first move is Knight f4 check. You have to take, and now White throws in a check from the Rook. Rook c5 check. Bishop f5. So what? Rook takes f5 check. We have this nice diagonal pin idea, and that is the end of the game. In this position, White has just played Knight f6. This is the game between Ding and Caruana. Caruana has to move the Queen, and Rook c2 was played by Ding attacking the e2 pawn. Caruana now plays Rook b3. The bishop is protecting the Rook, and now Ding is trying to calculate a forced win. Because the first question in this position is why not Knight takes d5? You cannot play Rook takes a3 because Knight takes e7, White will be up a piece. After Knight takes d5, is Black simply in trouble? No. Caruana plays a move that just looks brilliant. A brilliant saving move in this position, beginning with Queen a3. What's the idea of this? If you play Rook takes Queen, you can get a Queen, King h2, check, take, and then after e takes d5, Rook takes c7. If you play Queen takes f2, Rook takes h7, looks like a perpetual. Let's have a look at this. Take, check, and now where's the perpetual? Rook d7. Because the point is, Rook h8 will be a threat. If you go King back to defend, Rook check, and then you get a perpetual. In this position, Ding played Queen takes e6. And after check, King h2. Ding probably calculated up to here, but then Fabiano played a brilliant saving move. If you play promotion, this just does not work. It just falls for mate into check and then Knight e7. But how on earth do you stop this? This is where Fabiano comes up with a brilliant deflection, beginning with Rook b6. You're attacking the Queen, and if you play Knight takes b6, you can get a Queen. And this is the key difference. White needs two moves but only has one, and that is why Ding had to give a perpetual. If only the Knight was back on d5, then it could go to e7, just like in the previous variation, to give checkmate in 2. But White does not have the time, so he has to throw in a perpetual. Black has threats of his own. Check, check, and then that is the end of this amazing save of a game. This game is between Vachier-Lagrave and Karjakin. In this bishop endgame, we have 5 pawns each. MVL has just played g4, and in this position, Karjakin makes a big blunder, giving MVL the chance to come into the position. He plays b takes c4 check, giving White the chance to play king takes c4. Now in this position, you could play another move, maybe move the bishop, maybe move the pawn if you want. But to give White the chance to come in was not the best decision. White has chances, king b5 or king d5. All of a sudden, White is playing for a win. F takes g4 take, bishop f6, h5, take, take. White's target will be the g7 and the c5 pawns. Karjakin goes backwards, giving MVL the chance to come in with bishop e5, bishop f8. Passive defense, defending both pawns at the same time. How to proceed? White now plays the move bishop c3. Why? Because White wants it to be Black's move. When Black decides to move the king, White now has the chance to come into the position. King d6, bishop b2, king c6, and now back to e5. This is the key. There we have it. The bishop on e5 is controlling d6. The king needs to move sideways. King b6, king d5. White is in. King b5, you want to go king b4, so let's put a stop to that. Bishop e7 played. Bishop takes g7. Now, why not, let's say, move the king? Because you're just going to come in anyway. And then white will take g7. So Karjakin, he resorts to just moving the bishop on e7. We take it, bishop to g5, stopping h6. Notice h6 here is a blunder because we can take and then come in. Draw. So bishop back to c3 to stop the black king coming forward. Bishop h6, bishop e1, bishop c1, bishop f2. To make progress, MVL decides to eliminate the c for the b pawns. King b4 take, king b3, king e4, and this is a theoretical win. Let's see how MVL does it. Bishop h6, king f5, king c4, king g6. Attacking both bishops at the same time, moving the bishop to e7, and this appears to be an easy win. King d5. We want to push, so let's block. We push, bishop h8, no difference because bishop h6 and we're coming in. King e7, bishop g7 and we're good. Mamedyarov versus MVL. White has just played bishop d4, rook takes g5, rook a4, threatening checkmate in 2. Rook g2 check played by MVL, and now king e3. It turns out king e1 is completely winning. Now what happens if black gets out the way with king h7? Bishop f6 is a great move, threatening rook h4 checkmate. If you play rook h2, rook a8 delivers the same outcome. King e1 is a great move. After king e3, this may be blunder of the tournament. White is just self-pinning, and this gives MVL a chance to play f5. With rook g3 check, the point of f5 is rook a8 check, and now the king can come out. If we compare the difference between this variation and the previous, after king e1, f5 is not possible because the rook and king are on the same line. Bishop c4 check will just pick it up. After king e3, f5, this is not possible. Bishop e5, this is to stop rook g3 check, but now black can come in, and black simply has too many pawns. King f7, bishop f4, g5, bishop d6, a2, and Mamedyarov had enough. The king can come into the center, f4 with rook g3 check, it's over. Let's just play a few more moves to see what happens. Bishop e5, king e6, if bishop d4, rook g3 check, and then you can pick up the bishop on d3. If bishop c7, f4 check. If you go forward, nice move here, rook b4 check, deflecting the rook, and you get your queen. If king f3, you can go rook g3 check, and then you pick up the d3 bishop. A huge upset, a huge blunder by Mamedyarov. Rook e1, king f8, rook f1 check, king g8, rook e1. Will this be a repetition? No. King f8, rook f1 check, and now king e7. Big decision because it does allow rook f7 check. But then what happens after take? And then rook takes c7. It's 3 pawns each, and you might think this will just lead to a simple draw. But the point is, white's king is on the back rank, and in this position black plays a brilliant move beginning with king d6. It really is the art of the rook endgame. It might be level, but all of a sudden black has opportunities to win this level rook endgame. King d6 means the rook on c7 has to go back to c1. Rook e4. Let's compare rooks. Black has the more active one. Rook b1, b5, fixing the pawn. Is the king coming into c4 straight away? Let's see. King g1, king d5, king f2, g5. Black gets his pawns forward, king f3, h5, h3, rook c4, check, block, rook back to b1, check, king f2, and you might try king c4 here. Then the rook can come to c3 or to b3 to act as a shield, but king c4, maybe white has some chances. Rook e1, king takes b4, rook e5. However, black played rook d4 first, king e3, check, king e5, rook b2, Black's rook is still more active. Check, king e3, rook there, h4, black is pressing, king f5, rook f2 check, rook f4, rook b2. You cannot take because king takes and black will be winning. After king e2, no need to go after this one, but just go after this one. King e4, and then that's it. The pawn race is not even close. Rook back to b2, g4. Swapping a pair of pawns off, but does that get white closer to a draw? Perhaps no, because after take you take with the king, and then there are some other possibilities. King g3, rook f2, king e3 played, rook check, rook back to c4, king e3, maybe g3 is possible instead of rook c4. This square is now useful for black. Maybe the king can come up, king can come here, rook can go back to c4. In the game, rook c4 was played, king e3, king e5. Maybe white is in zugzwang. If you move the rook can come to c2. You can't move the rook sideways because b4 will drop. Rook b3 was played, and then rook c2, eyeing g2, and now black is winning. A very artistic rook endgame. If you move the king, then black's king can come in. f4 to g3, rook b3 played, rook c2, the game is over. Rook a3 take. After rook c2, is there another possibility? You could do this, then rook takes g2, coming back to g3 to check the king. And if you deal with this situation, for example, getting the rook out the way, rook takes g4, and then there's enough support. Rook can go here, rook can come back here. This is still always being pressured. Rook a3 played, take, check, and then take, and then that's it. It's just two pawns. This game is between Richard Rapport and Dominguez. Queen d8 check was played in this position. After king h7, black has threats of his own. He plans to play rook takes e2, followed by checkmate. In this position, Rapport blundered with d7. Rook d2 was better, defending the e2 pawn. If rook e3, then white can play d7. And things get messy very quickly. You don't want to play bishop c5 because rook takes g3 check, and black will be winning. Take, check, king h1, and then bishop h3 is an amazing move. Planning to go queen g2 checkmate. If you play rook g1, there's an absolutely brilliant move here. You don't play rook takes queen because you drop your own queen, being down a rook. You play this incredible bishop g2 check. After take, you can go queen h3 check. And on the next move, black will have the chance to take the queen. You cannot go rook h2 because queen f1 is not actually mate. Bishop g1, then you can take the queen. However, in the game, Richard Rapport blundered with d7, and Dominguez played bishop a6, and then he resigned. What was Rapport planning in this position? Maybe he was hoping Dominguez plays rook takes e2, but white has this brilliant resource beginning with queen g8 check. If king takes, then you get a queen, you have to go back, and then queen d3 check is the point. You will pick up the rook on e2. Incredible variation. Now after queen g8 check, you can't go king g6 because rook d6 check, and then f7 is under attack. If you go king h5, queen f7 check, it will be mate very soon. After f6, you can play rook takes f6 check. You can't take because you can get a queen. That's cool. Queen h8 check is actually a vital difference. King g6, and guess what? Turns out black is winning. After rook d6, you can just go king h5. If only the white queen was back. Rook takes h6 check, g takes, and there's no good check from the white queen. An amazing variation. In the game, d7 was played, and after bishop a6, that's it. Because after queen takes a8, rook takes e2, and there'll be checkmate next. You can throw in the check like in the previous line, but you can take and then go back. And this is the vital difference. There is no queen d3 check because the bishop is covering the a6 square. And this is how Dominguez beat Rapport. Rapport versus Carlsen. Black now plays rook b2 after queen a4, knight takes d2. You can't play bishop takes d2 because the rook is hanging. After knight takes d2, queen d7, Rapport goes for counterplay. Knight f3 check, and now king h1. Notice king g2 is not possible because Magnus can sacrifice and break through the white position, beginning with rook takes f2 check, king takes, knight e4 check, and the king has to go to g2 or e2, no matter. The queen will go to b2 and then it will be checkmate. For example, if here queen b2 check, you move the king and then it will be queen takes h2 mate. There's no point blocking, you're just going to take everything. Back to the game, Rapport chose king h1, and does white have a chance here? White is threatening to take the bishop on e7 or queen takes d6, but white's king is a bit weak too, so what brilliant move did Magnus play here? Using the fact that it'd be really nice to go rook takes f2 and then rook takes h2 next. Magnus, he really has to deal with this threat. Now one possibility is queen e8, but then after queen takes d6, rook takes f2, bishop g2, the game goes on. But in this position, Magnus finds a brilliant move. No need to play queen takes e8, Magnus just goes for it, queen takes c7, and in this position, white resigned, because after queen takes, knight e4, and then that's it. No way to defend f2, and once that goes, h2 will be hanging. For example, if the game went on, queen c1, knight takes f2 check, and after king g2, you want to check the white king with the rook, but you need to protect it at the same time. So a nice move is knight d1 or knight d3. After knight d1 check, the king has to move and then rook takes h2. If you don't move the king, if you play queen takes rook, knight takes b2, and the problem is black is just a piece up. So a nice finish by Magnus. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to get notified each time I release a new video. Like the video if you enjoyed this tactical compilation. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.